everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Big Questions, Small Steps. My name is Amanda, and I'm so glad that you could join me today. So today we're going to talk about Ash Wednesday as well as Lent. Now, these are two different important days within the Christian calendar, and they're not very happy days, to say the least. So stay tuned and we'll learn more about them. So the season of Lent and even Ash Wednesday was never something I looked forward to growing up as a kid. Typically, Lent and Ash Wednesday by default meant that I needed to attend services at my church another day each week. So I would attend services on Sunday, and now I would also have to attend on Wednesdays. And that was frustrating because I felt like it interfered with my life. I know, because I thought I was a socialite or something in 5th grade. I don't know. Now, my church tried to make it more engaging. They would have what was called soup and sandwich before the Lenten service, because a lot of people were coming straight home from work, and then they would just go and have a light dinner at church, then go to service, and then go home, and hopefully your kids ate enough that you don't have to feed them again before bed. But everything seemed to change. I can remember the last 5-10 years that I was part of the church, and they started doing the ashes on the forehead. And that's something that my church had never done before prior. So it was something different. So I knew some things about Lent, and I knew some things about Ash Wednesday, but I didn't know the whole story. So researching this holiday brought a lot of clarity for myself, and I'm excited to share that information with you. So the idea of Ash Wednesday was, surprise, surprise, established at the Council of Nicaea. I know, that place seemed to establish a whole bunch of things. That was in 325 AD. And more specifically, Council of Nicaea, when they were meeting, it wasn't necessarily the concept of Ash Wednesday, it was the idea of Lent. Having a specific day for Ash Wednesday to start Lent, and the concept of Lent as a penance period prior to Easter. Now, in 1601, Pope Gregory decided that he was going to move Lent. Initially, when it started, it was Ash Wednesday, and then it was a couple of weeks, and then there would be Lent. He's like, this makes no sense, and he wanted to move it so that Ash Wednesday and Lent were tied together, and it made it more logical and easier to follow for the Christian people. So that move was thanks to Pope Gregory. Now, they do the ashes for Ash Wednesday because of a line in the book of David. It's a line about fasting, and it's a line about ashes in order to show penance. Now, what they will do nowadays is they will take the palm branches that are used in services during Palm Sunday, which is right before Easter. They'll burn them, and then they'll mix them with water, like holy water typically, into like a paste. And then the priest will use it to typically put it on with his thumb, and he will mark the sign of the cross on your forehead. That's supposed to indicate to everyone who sees you that you are a Christian. Now, the rule is that you are not supposed to touch it, brush it, or wash it off. You're supposed to let it fall off naturally so that you can prove you're unashamed to be a Christian. Now, I remember teaching high school and I had people that were Catholic, and I remember that there were two girls in particular who would comment, "Oh, can't handle Ash Wednesday. I just know I'm going to break out where they put that cross on my forehead because they can't wash it off." So it was comical to me because it was somebody else's rules and I didn't grow up with that. So in my head and my thinking, I was like, well, then just wash your face when you get home. Again, I'm a horrible person and I know it. But it was interesting to me that they were very hung up on that. So that's why they do the cross. They cite the verse, "You are dust, and to dust you shall return." Sometimes people will say that at funerals when they're putting dirt on the casket as it's lowered into the ground as well. So it's basically that mark of the cross is supposed to remind you that you are not above anything. You are saved only by Christ, and it is through him that you gain salvation. So it's just that change. The practice of putting the ashes on the forehead began being more popular in the 1970s, particularly within the Catholic practice. The Protestants, like I said, that didn't happen until much later. I would guess in the early 2000s, 2010s. That's when it started in the Protestant movement. And many don't do that today. I know in the church that I was a part of, they will do the ashes on the forehead, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Now, again, like I said, the season of Lent is supposed to be a season of penance. So you're supposed to use that time to reflect on how you have fallen short, how far from Jesus you are, how much you have to improve. And it's supposed to be a chance for you to take something out of your life that might be preventing you from being more Christ-like. So that might, like, frequently people will say, okay, I'm giving up chocolate, or I'm giving up bread, or I'm giving up using my favorite pillow. There are also people who will add things. So one year I remember when I decided, okay, I'm going to try to do better at this Lent and being more close to Jesus, I decided I was going to give up using the elevator. I was in college at the time, and every day I would take an elevator 3 floors to get to one of my classes and then back down. So for Lent, I decided, okay, I'm going to give up the elevator. And I liked that better than giving something up, because every time I was presented with that choice, I felt like I was being more active than just kind of falling back on, oh no, sorry that I can't do that now because it's Lent. It felt more active that I chose to do something else. But growing up, I don't remember ever giving anything up for Lent. I remember being a snotty middle schooler and being ticked off when we couldn't have meat on our pizza on Fridays at school, because my school would do meatless Fridays, because in the Catholic tradition, you don't do meat on Fridays during Lent, or you would do fish on Fridays. So that's why a lot of fish fries happen on Fridays. And I would get irritated because I wasn't Catholic, so why do I have to give up meat? I know, I was a snotty kid, and I apologize because I didn't even know how snotty I was. But now I understand more about Lent and about Ash Wednesday and kindness in general. So I'm not perfect, but jeepers, I sure hope I'm better than that 5th grade me, because that was not the best version of me by long shot. So that's Ash Wednesday and Lent. Typically, it will be a very somber service for Ash Wednesday. You will leave the service in silence. It's short. It's probably a half an hour at most. And then it's supposed to be a very somber departure because you're preparing the transition into Lent. And Lent is supposed to be a time of penance, a time to prove how sorry you are, how much you need God, and how much you need Jesus, and how grateful you are that Jesus is coming to save you. And you can't do that if you're joyful all the time. So that's the season of Lent, and that's Ash Wednesday. The more you know, the more we grow. Until next time, bye-bye.